Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sloppy Saturdays once again. I know you were eagerly awaiting this one. We've got a map on Caldaris Refinery, a match, not a map. We've got a match on the map, Caldaris Refinery. We've got Sanik Ruru. Sanik. Don't know, I'm going to call him Ruru. I like that name, Ruru. It's giving me that rah-rah vibe. A little bit wild. Ruru playing the Apo, and we've got Spam playing as the Lord Commissar, so we've got that Space Marine versus IG matchup. Interesting matchup in that the Guardsmen in Tier 2, when they get the plasma guns, can make you feel very sad as a Space Marine player, because suddenly your Tactical Marines, who are meant to be the superior ranged unit versus like everything, get kind of wrecked. But in Tier 1, the Tactical Marines often, as an IG player, feel immortal. Especially when there is an Apo near them to give them not only the heal, but also the extra HP regen when you stood near them and they're in green cover. Now, straight away, Sanik here, I would not recommend running your Apo on your own, because he's just not very good. Like, the Apo right now going to duel the Lord Commissar. The Lord Commissar's going to win. Look at the Commissar's pistol damage, man. Strongest sidearm in the game, already putting on a lot of damage onto the Apo. So now the Apo is going to take some pistol shots. He's not going to achieve a lot. Now, Spam's Sentinel has met Tactical Marines. That is the worst thing for the Sentinel. The Sentinel wants to meet the Apo because it can just kite him because he's melee. Even better than that, the Sentinel wants to meet capping Scouts. Right now, the Guardsmen running into cover here, this is pointless. Spam should just disengage because these Guardsmen have no hope of killing these Tactical Marines. They're just way too tanky, and all the Guardsmen could do is die and give XP to the tax and a little bit of bleed onto Spam's economy. So Spam should have just backed out there. Now, how do you deal with the Tactical Marines early on? Well, you have your Lord Commissar to do that, especially if you're going to get the Power Sword. So what Spam should be thinking about doing now is, once he deals with these Scouts, which the Commissar will eventually force off thanks to his awesome pistol, yeah, gets a nice little kill there. He should be rotating his Commissar to the left, because he knows that's where the Tactical Marines are, and the only real counter that Spam has to the Tactical Marines, other than mass firepower in the open field, is the Commissar. So Sentinel should be hunting Scouts on the sides, Commissar should be hunting Tactical Marines, and then when you get into the big fights, you want to focus fire the Apothecary because he's relatively squishy. He doesn't have the heavy infantry armor like the Tax, he's got less HP than them, and he's giving them not only the heal, but like I said, the HP regen as well. So we don't have Stomp, so I'm not sure what the Sentinel is doing. It's actually probably going to die right now. I really have no idea what Spam is doing with Sentinel. Why did he move the Sentinel away from his Guardsman? I'm not sure. It had to be a misclick, and unfortunately his Sentinel is going to go down there, so that's really bad. These Guardsmen right now, yeah, they're not in cover. He's setting up a nice little enfilade here. The problem is that these Guardsmen at the bottom here, shooting these attacks are going to do nothing, and the Apo actually managed to get into melee. He really needed the Commissar to be dealing with these Tactical Marines. Do we have shotguns? We don't. So there is basically no counter right now to the Commissar. Okay, he's gonna eat a grenade face first. Now, fortunately, his Guardsmen were relatively spread out, and Guardsmen are actually very tanky as far as the squad is concerned. 940 HP for a Tier 1 squad is kind of nuts. Especially when you consider how much cheaper they are than the Tax. So, okay, he's already got the Carapace armor. I was going to say, he now sees that the enemy has double tax, so I would have considered getting the Carapace armor if he didn't have it already. Now, the reason why you do that is because, remember, the Lord Commissar is the counter to the Tactical Space Marines. How do the Tax counter him? How does SM counter him in general? They shoot him, right? Now, the Commissar has natural resistance to the shotgun blast because you can turn on the shield to ignore the knockback. It is a bit of a skill timing thing, but it's helpful. But if you get extra regen in combat, 2.5 HP regen from Carapace armor, and you get an extra 200 max HP, you're just going to make your Commissar more effective at the job that he already does. So if he's failing at his job, then you don't get that armor, because it doesn't change his role, it just makes it better at what he already does. But in this instance, the Commissar is doing amazing at dealing with these Tactical Space Marines. Now, I don't know what Spam's doing right now here. He should just retreat the Commissar. He needs this Commissar to deal with attacks. Having the Commissar capping on the side right now is really bad. He's far too valuable for that. Send your Guardsmen to cap. They are way less important than the Commissar right now. And that Commissar needs to get back to the base, needs to heal up, and also he's wasting the energy here with the energy shield. Like, why is it on? He's not in combat, he needs to turn it off and regen the energy. Anyway, I like the Carapace Silent pickup because it's going to help him counter these double attacks even better. But let's think ahead, guys. If he's got double attacks, and you're relying on a Commissar to counter that, how do you expect the Commissar to be countered itself? Well, the enemy can rely on just an overwhelming amount of ranged firepower. You would expect shotguns, but like I said, the Commissar is naturally resilient to this. You could see a bolter upgrade on the Apothecary, which gives him the ability to stun the Commissar. That would be pretty wise for Ruru, because there's been so much investment in the Commissar. But alternatively, you could see Devastators. Now, Devastators would be a hard counter to the Commissar, but in order to deal with that, you have Catachans as a soft counter, and you have Spotters as a hard counter. So given the fact that there are no Devastators on the field, the Catachans here are a better purchase. But had we seen Devastators, it might have been prudent to get some Spotters, and you could even get Spotters after the Catachans in such an instance, if Ruru did go for a really heavy tier 1. But right now you see the issue. Catachans, they're great, but they have very short range on their shotguns, so these tacks hiding in the cover at the back, they can't really reach them. They're just getting shot to pieces with their light infantry armor. Guardsmen, meanwhile, they're trying their best, but yeah, Tactical Space Marines in the regen aura of an Apothecary in cover. I'm sorry, but the Guardsmen are not going to be very effective. They need plasma guns to do anything. Hence, you need your Commissar. And here comes the Commissar, but now he's alone, and he didn't even have full HP. He really didn't have any support, so what you want to do, you can charge him in using your ability, then you want to disrupt all of their range troops with your Catachans, and then move your Guardsmen forward. Guardsmen focus fire the APO, then the Scouts, then the tanks. Catachans could actually just run up and try punching the tanks, and even if they don't get into melee because the tanks kite, at least it stops the tanks shooting you. So then, you know, your Commissar can do his thing. So there's obviously mismanagement of these engagements here, but that's what we expect on sloppy Saturdays. But let's see how things go. Now, Spammer's actually not spent that much power, all things considered, especially given that he built his gens super early compared to Ruru, because Ruru went for a very expensive on requisition kind of build. Even though actually Ruru only spent 50 power, which yeah is actually less than Spam. Because Spam spent the Power Sword, which is 25, this which I think is 25, so that's like 50 already, and then the Catachans. But the difference is that Spam built his gens way sooner. So, here's the result. Chimera is out on the field already. Now, Spam needs to take advantage of this momentum that he's now got. I assume the Guardsmen are inside the Chimera, yep. So he just needs to push to the gen farm. Let the Catachans deal with these scouts. Catachans can always 1v1 scouts very easily, even if scouts are fully upgraded. So that's a good thing to bear in mind. And yeah, the Chimera can just push to the gen farm. Now, one thing that Spam has to be careful of is Ruru, seeing that he is clearly out-teched and out-maneuvered, he could concede, okay, I'm going to lose my gen farm, fine. And he just gets a Flamer Tactical Space Marine, and he goes for a counter bash over here. But it looks like Ruru might not have the sort of foresight of mind. What's the phrase? I forgot the phrase. Frame of mind, I suppose, to think about that. Double plasma guns now out on the Guardsmen. Yeah, it looks like the tanks are just going to do a slow bash down here. Ruru should definitely be counter-bashing right now. There's nothing he can do against the Chimera whatsoever. He doesn't even have missiles on the way because he's pumping all the power into the Dreadnought. And he's a mile away. So by the time he gets his troops back here, he's going to have lost the farm, so I don't really understand what he's doing. he also knows, look, the main threats that Spam has right now, the double Guardsman and the Chimera, they're at my gen farm. So what is defending this gen farm? Well, you also know you just forced off the Commissar. So the only thing that could be there is Kadashan Devils. And if you've got an Apo and double tax, you can take on the Kadashan Devils. So he should definitely be counter-bashing right now, rather than doing some sort of futile attempt at defense. Because he needs the Dreadnought to even have any AV right now. Where is his power going? What's he spending power on? Oh, he's got the armor of Polycarian. Well, I don't think that is a very good idea right now. You know, maybe later on that would be fine, but right now the main priority is killing this bloody Chimera, and he has no real AV. Yes, the Dreadnought can do a little bit of damage, but Chimeras are too quick. Transports in general, they can kite walkers. That's like the whole point. And you could get the Melter Gun on the Dreadnought, but then you don't have any snare right now, so in theory, again, the Chimera can just drive away. Now this is a little bit playing with fire here. Spam is driving his Chimera around. Obviously there's no AV on the field, but Spam, I would not be doing this because you don't know if the Space Marine has missile launchers coming. Now I can see they don't, but when you're in game and you click the tax skill, it's not going to show you if they're purchasing missile launchers. When that Chimera was there, if we've seen a missile launcher and a Melter Gun on the Dreadnought, oh my god, that damage could have just instantly finished off the Chimera. So, really playing with fire there, Spam. I wouldn't do it, it's not worth the risk. Now, given that there are no Assault Space Marines on the field, I would actually be getting a heavy weapons team with a las cannon right now to deal with this Dreadnought. Generally, it's a lot more effective than Melter Gun Stormtroopers. Which you would expect, right? Because Melter Gun Stormtroopers are good against everything, not just vehicles. They do really good damage against everything. They ignore cover, they can bash gens fast, they do good damage to all armor types. So, they're not going to be as good against vehicles as the dedicated heavy weapons team with the las cannon. Then you've got the Sergeant on the Kadashan Devils, who himself can get a Melter Gun. Just the combination of a las cannon and the Sergeant should be enough to deal with the Dreadnought. But now this is getting pretty spooky. We've got triple tax to fight against. The double Guardsmen are going to be nice, but triple tax is pretty scary. And the problem that these Stormtroopers have is they're just not very tanky at all. They do get a little bit of a HP buff, well actually a great HP buff of 20% more HP. Anti-armor kit, but still, they're light infantry and they're short range. So all the enemy has to do is focus fire them with attacks. They're going to kill models, and then it's going to be a pretty dodgy situation, really. It's always tricky when you only have one form of AV against a melee vehicle, because yeah, it just runs at the Stormtroopers and ties them up in melee. He needs the Kadashans to get their Sergeant and come out and help. Then, when the Stormtroopers are kiting, the Sergeant and the Kadashans can shoot the damn thing. Obviously, if you have a... Oh, looks like the Commissar might get one of these here. Come on, Commissar, charge! There you go, beautiful sync kill from the Commissar. Commissar has been a beast this game. So good against tax, and a micro mess up from Ruru drops another one of his... Oh, did the Stormtroopers just wipe? No, they didn't. Oh my god, that was weird. Okay, so Ruru is kind of throwing the game right now because he's really messing up his micro. Dropped 2 attacks there quite unnecessarily because he was too focused on this. But really, there was very little chance of the Stormtroopers ever winning that fight. Now, Spam is taking a very risky play here, and I don't like it. He's going tier 3, but he's losing his gen farm, and he does have this contested power, so that's going to give him a little bit. But Lehman Russ is super expensive. Now let's see how much he's got in his reserve. He does have a decent reserve, so I guess actually this is fine. But he does want to secure this power farm. Once again, we see that Ruru is overreacting to the Chimera. He should have actually just finished off the gens. Or at least left the tax to do it whilst the Dreadnought was absorbs the Chimera. Because this pullback from Ruru is actually facilitating Spam's going to tier 3 right now. The reason I didn't like it was because he was losing his gen farm, and it's a classic error when you try and go tier 3 and then you get gen bashed whilst you're doing it because you didn't invest as much in tier 2 as your enemy. And then you get to tier 3 and you've got no power to get tier 3 units, and it's like, okay, that was a waste of time, wasn't it? But it's going to work out in this case. It doesn't mean it was necessarily the optimal play though. It just means that his opponent failed to play optimally. So we're going to see double range dreadnought now. We've got an assault cannon to do with the infantry and a melter cannon, a melter gun, multi-melter. Fuck me. A multi-melter to deal with the Chimera. Let's see how it does. It's not firing at the moment. It needs to fire. Just dirting around. This is why you need the snare. Should get a shot here. I think he needs to press the stop command. I don't know why it's not firing anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to catch that Chimera without a snare. So obviously when you're playing as Space Marines, you've got two options for the snare. You've got the ASM Melter Bomb, you've got the Lascannon Devastators. If you're going to use multi-melter, generally you want to combine it with one of them snares, and that way the transport can't just kite away from you. And the multi-melter does really good damage, so with the spike damage of whatever hitting it that snares does, and then you've got the multi-melter damage, yeah, you'll kill a transport pretty easily. Alright, but what is Spam doing? I guess he can't afford Lehman Russ quite yet. I wonder if he's actually going to save up for a super heavy vehicle. No. Okay. Good. I don't think that would have been a good play. That's super risky. Again, Ruru is being too passive right now. Ruru's army is uncontested. The only AV is the Stormtroopers. We don't even have a sergeant yet on the Kajans. So these two dreadnoughts will be able to deal with the Stormtroopers like a piece of piss. Basically, he should be getting the triple cap right now and putting the VP pressure on, especially since there's only 190 VPs left for Spam. But a really good counter to walkers, because of the fact that walkers are slow vehicles that can't retreat, tanks. Because if a tank engages in a firefight with a walker, the tank can back off if it goes badly, but the walker can't back off from the tank because the tank's quicker and can just hunt it down. Librarian now for Ruru. Questionable decision. The Librarian has synergy most obviously with setup teams, but beyond that, they also have synergy with... Why is this dreadnought not shooting? Oh wow. Yeah, this is the problem with the Stormtroopers. Jesus, Gibbs. There's a point when they didn't even get that 20% extra HP, guys. They were so shit. You want to use Melter Stormtroopers more for killing transports, because they can infiltrate, so the transport doesn't see them coming. You get the transport when it's isolated. The transports obviously have very low HP when they're walkers. And you wipe them, and the transports can't just tie up the Stormtroopers in melee either. That's what Stormtroopers are there for, not for killing walkers. The heavy weapon team with a Lascannon is much better against walkers. Because you snare it, and you hit it from so far away that it can't just walk forward and melee you. Yeah, we're seeing the power of the Lehman Russ right now. Needs to keep chasing the Dreadnought. There's no AV on the field. Somehow, despite of seeing triple attacks, we never actually see any missile launches, which was a bit weird. There you go, the Lehman Russ is going to fell with the Dreadnought, and now it's killing tactical Space Marines. And yeah, the Lehman Russ is just going to dominate now. There's no AV. And I think Spam should be able to come back from here. You know, he just saves up now and gets some Kassakin out. And he's going to have total dominance. Where are the Guardsmen? One Guardsman is inside the Chimera. Okay, they're coming out now. Armor of the Apothecarian hasn't done anything.
One of our initiates has fallen.
Or initiate. Getting blown up by a friggin' Vanquisher cannon.
Ready for duty.
Yeah, I'm not seeing how Ruru can win this now. Because he's going for the Dreadnought, but you just lost two Dreadnoughts in the first place to this Lehman Russ, so what is another Dreadnought going to do, you know what I mean? You don't even have a snare, so the tank can just kite the Dreadnoughts. More drop pod attacks. I mean, is anyone going to get a missile launcher? Come on, Ruru. You know fine well this is the primary threat right now, you gotta deal with it. Yeah, so we see another multi-melter, but the problem is the tank is quicker than the Dreadnought, so it can just drive away and shoot at it. It shouldn't just stand and trade though, it will actually die if it just stands and trades. The multi-melter does that good damage. The problem with the multi-melter is it's short range, so yeah, you can see right now, the tank is easily able to shoot the damn Dreadnought, and the Dreadnought just can't catch the tank. Now if you had ASM, you could melter-bomb the Lehman Russ, and this might actually work then, especially with like missile attacks. You could speed up the missile attacks with the Veil of Time. You could kill the Lehman Russ with the Space Marine Tier 2, but Ruru has no snare, so it's not going to work. So the Lehman Russ is going to hunt down the Dreadnought here again. If it was missile attacks, that could do some good damage and deter this. But for some reason, Ruru seems averse to getting missile attacks. Look, don't get me wrong, missile attacks are great, and I always say that if you feel forced to get missile attacks, then you're losing. But you know, intelligent, intentional purchasing of the missile attacks is not so bad. But yeah, this is the game now for Spam. He hasn't even got the Kasakin, which really would be the nail in the coffin, you know, inspiring all the guards and making them do bonus damage, being resistant to the basic damage of the bolters, because of the heavy infantry armor, etc, etc. But yeah, there you go. Hey, you'd love to see it. Ruru turning into Riri once another match. I love it, man.
We have 200 points.
But yeah, decent little game. I hope that this helped. Yeah, they're testing each other's micro, bless them. Noobs in the house. But yeah, if you guys have any kind of games like this and you want me to take a look at them for Sloppy Saturday, send them in. Just have a look in the description below. You've got a link for my Discord. You can join the Discord, and then you just send them in the replay submissions section. I can't guarantee that they're going to be up anytime soon, because I'd like to try and record things a little bit in advance so I can maintain this schedule. It's not easy maintaining schedules, guys. But there you have it. Now, if you did enjoy the content, please leave a like and a comment. And if you want more exclusive casts, then you can get them by subscribing to my Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, folks. That is going to be all this time from your boy STD, signing out.